Now, I've never had lice, and I hope that no one else watching has, but I would imagine that that is what ants in the pants would be like. I don't know though. Hey everyone, welcome once again to this week's episode of TN2M Show's Sit Down Stand Up Comedy Show. I'm Jason, and I'm so honored to be here. I love doing these. I hope you have a good time because we love having you here. So, before I get into it, I need you all to make sure you like, you subscribe, and you comment down below. It may not be a lot to you, but it means the world to us. We really appreciate it, and it helps us out a ton. But this week, I want to talk about scouting. I have never been a scout. I've never, ever been a scout. But my dad was a scout. My best friend is an Eagle Scout. Uh, my wife, her older brother was a scout. Her dad was a scout. Her grandfather was a scout. So when we had children, our son, he became a scout. And that's awesome. We've learned so much. We've had so much fun. I love scouting. I do. I am not, like I said, I'm not a scout. I'm not the one to go on all the camping trips. Uh, and it's mainly because that's just not in my wheelhouse. I'm willing to go, and I've gone on a few, but it's just not my thing. Uh, but you know, my daughter is in an all-girls troop. My wife actually works for Scouts, and she is a scoutmaster for an all-girls troop. So like scouting is a big deal in our lives. There are weekends set aside, there are weeks set out of our lives every year to devote to scouting and going camping and stuff like that. When that happens, I usually stay home because we have two dogs, and I'm not going to pay to have two dogs boarded up over a weekend because it's an extra like $200 that I'm not willing to do because I'm cheap, and I'll just stay home in air conditioning. But with that being said, I wanted to talk about one particular scout in our troop. His name is Emmett, and we're going to call this the Emmett Experience. Why am I going to talk about him? Why is it called the Emmett Experience? I'm glad you asked. Those are great questions. The reason is because we have two rules, two main rules in our troop. Rule number one, things will not go according to plan. That's rule number one. And I think that's an important rule for life. Things will not go according to plan. Rule number two, something's going to happen, and in some form or fashion, it's going to involve Emmett. Emmett is the one kid. He is a great kid. Okay. Like, so let me get some disclaimers out of the way because I know I'm doing a bunch of rambling. Emmett is a great kid. Names have been changed to protect their identity. Emmett is smart. He's funny. He's witty. He is a good kid. He's a good kid. I like Emmett a lot. I've even cleared this with him and his family to make sure I can tell these stories, but identities are being protected. With that being said, let me tell you about the Emmett Experience. Now, remember, I said nothing's going to go according to plan, or everything isn't going to go according to plan, and something is going to happen, and it's going to involve Emmett in some form or fashion. I have like two stories to share with you. Okay. One time we went backpacking. It's a couple miles, you know. Now the thing with backpacking is you keep everything as light as possible. Uh, you keep tents, as light as possible. You don't carry the big bulky tents. You usually carry, sleeping bag, a pad, and something to cover yourself with, like a tarp or something, stuff like that. You also make sure you carry, your food is pretty light. You don't carry like cans of Chef Boyardee. You try to keep it as light as possible because while you're walking, you're carrying this big backpack and it will weigh down on you. Now, Emmett, he likes candy. Is he addicted to candy? You can say that. I won't say that. I'll just say he is a fan. He is a fan of candy. He is a fandy. But we go. And this is a time where Emmett almost got us killed. But he didn't. We're still here, as you can see. We find this campsite. Like after backpacking a couple miles, we find this campsite that we can make camp in. One of the things we have to do is we have to take all our food at night, and this includes trash, this includes wrappers, this includes all that stuff. And we have to put it in a big bag, tie it off with a rope, throw the rope in a tree, like to catch a big branch, pull it up so it's out of sight, or it's out of the way. We have to do this a bit of ways from the campsite because if there are bears, and where we're at had bears, not like all over the place, but I mean, there were bear sightings. So we knew that there were bears. But the point is to keep the food away so they're not drawn to the campsite and it's out of reach. So they'll try to get it. They'll eventually give up and they'll go and they'll leave us alone. Seems pretty harmless, right? Of course it is. Of course it's harmless. What could possibly happen? Oh, that's right. Emmett came on the trip. That can possibly happen. Emmett can possibly happen. Oh, we get everything set up. We go, we have a good night's sleep, we wake up, and before we get food out, before we get the bear bag down and stuff, we're kind of building a fire so it can have a chance to get going, and then while we bring stuff down, we can get things made. Emmett, being the saint of a child that he is, being the ever-loving ray of sunshine that Emmett can only be, pulls out a sucker from his pocket, undoes the wrapper, pops it in his mouth. Maybe it was a blow pop, maybe it was a Tootsie Roll pop, maybe it was one of those big one, I don't know. For all intents and purposes, let's just call it a Dum Dum. I will let you make the connection there. But he pulls out a Dum Dum, starts eating, and we're like, where did that come from? We haven't even brought down the bear bag. He's like, oh no, it was in my pocket. We're like, are you kidding us? He goes, no. It's fine. It wasn't open. And he's just sitting there like nothing's going on. And we're like, do you see your tent? He goes, yeah, so. And I was like, the tarps we used to just cover, and basically all that is to cover from wind or rain if it starts to rain. It's enough to just give you a dry place to sleep. It was a clear tarp. We're like, do you realize if a bear came and smelled that Dum Dum, he could have just had his way with any and all of us? He goes, doesn't stop, just eating away at it. Not, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hey, I made a mistake. I'm like, no, that would have sucked. He didn't realize that by him being in a clear tarp, it was basically saying, hey, bear, come have this deli sandwich. It's already wrapped for you. I mean, he was in like cling wrap, basically. That's the equivalent of it. The bear could see right through, be like, I know that smell. That smell is sugar. That is solidified death on a stick. I want it. And he would have had it. We got lucky. There was no bear. But he got really bad looks that day. Another incident we had was we have this big campground that we go to. Um, we went camping. I wasn't at this one in particular, but we went camping. This one is pretty safe from animals for the most part. We have like possum and um there may be a skunk or something, but raccoons, stuff like that, but nothing like too big. Like you're not going to see a bear come through more than likely, because I know it's going to get corrected at some point. Someone's going to be like, well, actually, I don't care. More than likely, you're not going to have that. So he goes and he decides that because we're in an area we know, he's going to actually hammock camp. Emmett is awesome. Hammock camping is great. You're tying a hammock between two trees, and that is your bed. It's actually a lot more comfy than you think. It's really nice, especially on like beautiful nights where there's just a slight breeze. It's the best thing ever. It really is. I went hammock camping before. I really enjoyed it. I would take that over tent camping um almost any time. But with that being said, he decides he's going to hammock camp. And because he's not camping like on the ground in a tent, he doesn't have to worry about his trash. Once again, we have a piece of candy because he likes candy, because Emmett likes candy. Let me collect myself. He doesn't have like just candy in his pocket. He has the wrappers in his pocket. He felt like because he's not on the ground, he should be safe, right? Well, logic can kind of say, okay, I can kind of see your understanding. Middle of the night rolls around. Emmett starts yelling, starts running around. He is having a psychotic episode. Like, we don't know what is going on. Let me tell you about what is going on. Ants. Ants are going on. Ants smelled the sugar residue in his wrappers, in his pocket, climbed up the tree, onto the rope, down the rope, into the hammock, into his pants in his pocket to get to that. This kid, Emmett, had ants in his pants. Not even lying. Not one bit. We've all heard the rhyme, ants in your pants. It's always kind of one of those things. It's always something that parents tell you when you can't stop moving around. Oh, look, you got ants in your pants. This kid had ants in his pants. Um, I've never had crabs. I feel bad for anyone that does, but I would imagine it would be very similar to that. Uh, like this dude, he's running around, he's itching everywhere. It is massively uncomfortable. He had to go to like a creek, basically get himself dunked to get the ants off of him and then change pants. What a nightmare. This is in the middle of the night. One, it's very hard to see in the middle of the night in the woods. Number two, you don't want to go to places that could be occupied by nighttime animals getting a drink of water. Nightmare, 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 nightmare. But that is the Emmett experience. So I know you're sitting there thinking like this can't be all that there is. It's not. There are other stories. I didn't collect them all, but there's like a volume of Emmett experiences. I've got one more to share, and this kind of connects to everything that happened in the previous stories. Um, remember how I tell you that we sometimes devote like weeks at a time? Well, during the summer, we have this huge campground that we go to, that our troop goes to, and troops from all over go to, like states away, they will come to this. It's like a week summer camp. It's awesome because kids get to meet all these other scouts. They get to hang out. They get to make friends. They get to do all these kind of cool adventure things to earn different merit badges. It's amazing. It's amazing. But at this campground, We actually have to have a corner segmented in like their main hall for lost and found stuff. They will wait a good solid week before us having to come pick up like a box of stuff. And there's a good chance that Emmett is involved. Every time they go to these summer camps for a week, they have to pack this big trunk, like this big foot locker kind of thing, full of stuff. For some reason, Emmett's foot locker, his trunk, is always half empty by the time they come back. We have to drive like an hour to an hour and a half each way. So you're looking at 3 hours round trip to go pick up the stuff that he left behind. Because that is what Emmett does. Luckily, Emmett's parents know he does this, and they label everything with his name. So we have a pile of Emmett. Um, it's it's a virtual mountain of Emmett related paraphernalia. It can be anything from water bottles to flashlights, um, to random clothes items, which we have no idea why they were left. But because of that, whenever we leave a campsite, we have to do like a police line and do like work in a grid pattern and take step by step and examine things to make sure that Emmett didn't leave something behind or that anyone left anything behind, but mostly Emmett didn't leave something behind. uh, Even when he does. And we don't know how he does because we can be like, man, we scoured over that like with a fine-tooth comb. How did this jacket get left behind? But sure enough, it had the name Emmett in it. You live and you learn, you guys, right? I mean, this kid, like I said, he's a great kid. I'm gonna be sad when he eagles out and or ages out of scouts and he's no longer there. It does make me kind of anxious to wonder who is going to take Emmett's place because there's always going to be that one kid. There's always going to be that one kid that will take Emmett's place. And I know it down to my bones. But that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can relate. If you were Emmett, I'm sorry for you. Has your life gotten better? Like, have you gotten stuff straightened out? Um, Let us know in the comments because that would be great. But guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Like I said, it may not be a big deal for you, but for us, it really helps out the channel and we appreciate it a ton. But that's it, guys. I guess I'll see you later. Bye-bye.